Today, we're diving deep into the meticulously engineered society of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. We're going to see exactly how this world is built, literally from the first cell, all to create a society with no war, no poverty, no misery. But what's the real price for all this perfection? Let's find out. So, our tour starts right here, under the gaze of the world state's motto: community, identity, stability. You see it emblazoned over the entrance to the building where every single life begins. These three words, they're the foundation, the ultimate goal. They're the promise, and, as we're about to see, they're also the price. Welcome to the Central London Hatchery and Conditioning Center. The year is 632 AF, that's after Ford. Now, inside this squat, gray building, human life isn't born, it's manufactured. This is ground zero for every citizen, the very heart of the world state's total control. Okay, so our guide, the director of hatcheries himself, leads us into the fertilizing room. And right away you see it. The principles of the assembly line, the ones perfected by Henry Ford, are being applied to human biology. This is where the raw materials for an entire society are created. Here it is, the absolute cornerstone of their social stability. The Bokanovsky Process. You have to understand, this is a single technological breakthrough that completely shatters one of nature's most basic rules. It allows the state to mass-produce identical human beings. So, how in the world does it work? Well, it's a very precise four-step assault on the natural process. First, the egg gets blasted with X-rays. That stops its development. But paradoxically, that shock forces it to bud. Then they shock it again with cold and alcohol to make it bud even more. It's a brutal, but you know what? It's a brutally effective way to multiply. And the result? Get this, up to 96. 96 identical humans from what was supposed to be a single egg. Now, this isn't just some biological curiosity. This is the engine that creates a perfectly ordered, perfectly predictable workforce. This quote from the director just says it all, doesn't it? He doesn't see this as unnatural or horrifying. He calls it progress, a prodigious improvement on nature. In the world state, efficiency isn't just a goal. It's the highest possible virtue. So, what's the end game here? It's really simple: uniformity. As the director proudly tells us, for the very first time in history, the principles of mass production have been applied to biology. This creates identical workers for identical jobs, which completely eliminates the messiness and unpredictability of human difference. Okay, let's keep moving and see how this all builds. Once the embryos are bottled up, they continue their journey into the social predestination room. Now, in here, their fate isn't just predicted, it is chemically sealed before they ever even develop consciousness. The main tool they use for this is just oxygen. An alpha embryo, it gets the full supply, prepping it for a life of intellectual leadership. But an epsilon embryo is basically starved of it. At just 70% of the normal supply, its physical and mental growth is permanently stunted. They are literally designed for a life of unskilled labor. Social destiny is built right into their biology. And all of this engineering creates this incredibly rigid, five-tiered caste system. You've got the intelligent alphas in gray at the very top, all the way down to the semi-moronic epsilons in black at the bottom. Every single person has a preordained role, a color, and a status. There's zero social mobility because your place in the world was decided for you in that bottle. But you know, biological engineering is only half the battle. Let's head on upstairs to the nurseries. This is where we see how that biological destiny gets locked in with relentless psychological conditioning, starting from the moment they are decanted, which is their word for birth. So, the first method they use is called neo-Pavlovian conditioning. This is where the state forges these absolutely unbreakable connections in an infant's mind, linking certain objects not with pleasure, but with fear and pain. And it's all for the good of the economy. Just look at this lesson for Delta infants. They're shown these beautiful books and colorful flowers. But just as they start crawling towards them, bam, a horrifying series of sirens, explosions, and electric shocks are unleashed. After doing this 200 times, these babies grow up with a deep, instinctive hatred of nature and literature. Why? It ensures they won't waste the community's time on hobbies that don't involve consuming things. But the second tool, and honestly, this one might be the most powerful of all, is hypnopaedia, sleep teaching. Just imagine, while children are sleeping, little whispers under their pillows repeat state-approved morals thousands and thousands of times. It's a kind of brainwashing that completely bypasses reason and implants suggestions as pure, undeniable truth. And what are these truths they're whispering? Things like, ending is better than mending, to encourage constant consumption. A gram is better than a dam, to promote the use of their happy drug, Soma. Everyone belongs to everyone else, to completely get rid of emotional commitment. These aren't just catchy slogans. They are the very fabric of how every single person thinks. So, we've seen the how, but we're still missing the why. To really get that, we have to listen to the philosophy of a world controller, one of the 10 men who run the entire planet, a guy named Mustafa Mond. He explains the chilling logic that holds this whole system together. At the very core of the world state's philosophy is this simple, brutal idea. History is bunk. The past, with all of its passions, its wars, and its suffering, is seen as a kind of disease. So to build a stable future, the past had to be completely wiped out. And that, of course, brings us to the crucial question. To achieve this world of perfect stability and universal happiness, a price had to be paid. But what was it exactly? Well, the price was basically everything we might consider essential to being human. Family, love, art, science, history, intense emotion, all of it was seen as a threat to stability and was systematically eliminated. Concepts we take for granted, like mother and father, are now considered obscene, dirty words. And here it is, the final, unshakable justification. The world controllers believe that stability is the primal and ultimate need. Everything, every freedom, every passion, every single truth, it all has to be sacrificed on the altar of stability to prevent the chaos and misery of the past from ever returning. Which leaves us with this one last thought. A world with no suffering, no disease, no heartbreak, no getting old. A world where everyone is happy all the time. But if that happiness is manufactured, and if your individuality is the price you pay, is it a perfect world? Or is it a perfect prison?